Hello and welcome back. I have like 1,000 ideas for this next one, kind of pinging around in my brain cavities. I want to read, I have all these Endless Quest, Dungeons and Dragons, Choose Your Own Adventure books from when I was a kid. And I have so many ideas of how to go about this. But I think for this first attempt that I will just read the book straightforward. And the way that I would read the book personally, if I were just reading the novel, would be choosing the self-preservation paths. So if it was like hide or run away, those are the ones I would choose. I play a sneak archer in Skyrim. But then I was thinking maybe I could do 2 versions of the same book and do one where I choose like facing the conflict and one where I choose self-preservation. But then I also thought about trying to do one where I read all of the options at once and put in timestamps, but I don't think that would be very good to sleep to. And then I also thought about doing a whole playlist where I read the different choices per like each different video, but that could end up being who knows how many videos, and again it wouldn't be so great to sleep to. So very much I welcome feedback in the comments. Should I read it twice with the self-preservation paths, and then again with the conflict heavy paths, or confronting things, you know what I mean, paths? Or should I do one book, I choose the self-preservation paths, and then the next book I choose the conflict heavy paths? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Like I said, I would be so grateful for feedback in the comments. Or I could even start with conflict heavy, because often you die really quickly when you choose that. So I could do that and then start over. But for this first one, since I'm, like I said, I have 1,000 ideas for how to go about this, I think I'll just try to stay alive. And if that's the best course, if that's what everybody would like for sleeping to, you know, low stakes, hopefully. We'll see if I live. Yeah, just let me know what you think. But this first one is an Endless Quest book number 1, Dungeon of Dread. Welcome to a journey into the world of fantasy. This adventure into Dungeon of Dread is a Dungeons and Dragons adventure. You will find a complete adventure between the covers of this book with many possible courses of action. Some choices are simple, some are sensible, some are foolhardy, and some are dangerous. You must make all the decisions. Remember, your choice determines the outcome of your adventure. In this book, you play the part of a human fighter. As an adult, you stand 5'9" and weigh about 150 pounds. You are smart and have survived many adventures using little more than your wits. You are well schooled in the use of weapons and are a powerful opponent. You carry a sword and a dagger and wear a long-sleeved green tunic over leather breeches. Fine leather boots guard your feet. A long green hunter's cloak protects you from the cold. You carry flasks of oil, a tinderbox, a length of rope, and other gear in a leather pouch tied to your belt, and food and water in a sack slung over your shoulder. Good luck and good adventuring. You have stopped for the night in a strange forest. Tired after a long day's walk, the area seems eerie and strange. There is no moonlight, so the shadows are very black. The air is still and heavy. Even the usual night noises of small birds and animals are missing. Ordinarily, you would have pressed on through the dark woods to the nearest town, but this night you are too tired to take another step. Wrapping your cloak firmly around yourself, you lie down upon a soft bed of moss with your sword close at hand. You are soon fast asleep. You dream that summer breezes ruffle your clothes. A strong breeze tugs at your cloak. You slowly awaken. Breeze? There is no breeze. The night is calm. Your reflexes scream in alarm, and you awaken, eyes snapping open. You see a 3-foot-tall halfling, probably a thief, quietly searching your clothes. In one smooth, swift movement, you jump to your feet and grab the unlucky halfling by the scruff of his neck. The halfling's eyes shine in the moonlight, and his fear is easy to see. "Well, halfling, can you give me one reason why I shouldn't feed you to the crows?" "Oh, please don't do that," whines the halfling. "I'm just a poor, hungry halfling named Loris. I'm no danger to anyone. Why, I just now escaped a terrible fate. If you spare me and feed me, I'll tell you where to find all the treasure in the world." You hesitate, then lower him to the ground. "I have no need for all the world's riches, but what you say sparks my interest. I will spare your life and feed you if your story interests me enough to pay for my loss to sleep. But I warn you, if the tale does not, I will still feed you to the crows." Carefully watching the halfling, you gather dry wood from beneath the trees to start a fire. Soon you and the halfling share its welcome warmth. Its bright light holds back the shadows of the night. You brew mugs of strong tea as the halfling falls ravenously on a mutton leg and round of cheese. He eats as though it has been years since he last saw food. "Halfling, you spoke of treasure and adventure," you urge, trying not to show your curiosity. Loris wipes his mug with grimy finger, searching for any sugar his tongue might have missed. All the while, his large brown eyes flicker about, calculating his chances for escape. He studies the strong grace of your movements, your mirror-bright shield glinting in the firelight, and your sword hanging within easy reach, its hilt polished with use. Wiping his mouth with the back of his hand, the halfling sighs and stares into the flickering fire. "Aye, 'tis true. 'Tis a marvelous tale, and truthful too. But there are hardly any who will believe it when I get back to my home. Well, try me. I'm always ready for a good tale, and you still owe me for dinner and your life." "I'll tell you," says the halfling, fixing you with a shrewd look, "but you may wish you had never asked." Settling back against a tree stump, a faraway look comes into his eyes, and the halfling begins his tale. "I've lived around these parts all my life, and a right pleasant place it was until the magic user showed up. Kalman, he calls himself. No one knows who he is or where he came from. One day he wasn't here, the next he was. Things soon began to change for the worse. People grew poor and sickly, crops withered, and livestock weakened and died. And throughout our troubles, the magic user grew rich and powerful. At last, people had their fill. Gathering their courage, they came upon Kalman in the middle of the night, burned his house down, and drove him from the town. He fled to these woods and claimed them as his own. We townsfolk stay far away from the woods, but travelers who choose not to listen to our warnings enter the woods and are never seen again. I was always too smart for my own good, sighs the halfling. One day I decided I would learn the secret of the woods, the missing travelers, and perhaps figure out how to kill the wizard. If I could do that, I could return to the village as a rich hero. So one morning, without even a goodbye to me missus, I slipped into the woods. I explored every inch of the evil woods and found nothing. Finally, I came to a mountain just outside the forest. I was cold and tired, so I crawled up on a ledge of rock to rest. I was going to sit for a moment before I went home. I must have fallen asleep, for the next thing I knew, I woke up to find Kalman standing over me. "So you wanted to find me, halfling," he said. "Well, now you have, and I wager you'll get more than you bargained for." With a wave of his hand, he put a spell on me so I couldn't move, and slung me over his shoulder like a trussed-up rabbit. Then we slipped through an opening in the side of the mountain. I cannot and will not tell you all of the frightening things I saw. I don't even want to think of them, shudders the halfling. He carried me to the very center of the mountain, maybe the center of the world for all I know, and there I saw all the treasure in the world. "You wanted to rob me," said Kalman, "so look upon my treasure. You will always know just how much you have lost. Those who seek danger foolishly always find it. Those who know how to handle both danger and wealth are few and far between. You are lucky. I feel generous. I shall let you go and not even change you into a newt, as you deserve. When you return to your home, none will believe you. Your friends will think you have been drinking fermented corn juice in the woods and have made this story up to cover your absence. They will laugh at you. Only you will know what you have beheld and lost. Now, be gone." Black smoke came out of his fingertips. When it cleared, I found myself in these dark woods, alone and hungry. Loris stares into the fire for a long time without speaking. Finally, he rouses himself and says with a shaky laugh, You can see now I'm just a poor halfling of no harm or help to anyone. You feel sorry for the forlorn little fellow, and you are curious about both the evil wizard and his fabulous treasure. Strangely enough, you do believe the tale. Even though the little man is clad in a grimy patched cloak and has one toe peeking out through his tattered leather boots, his eyes hold a stubborn look that says, "I'm not a quitter." Life has used the halfling hard, yet he has courage. If he were given encouragement and a fair chance, he might prove a worthy companion. "Loris," you say gently, "could you find that opening in the mountain again?" The halfling stares at you for a moment before he answers. "Surely I could, but it would mean your death. Kalman would not allow you to survive as he did me. I was a moment's amusement, but you would be a serious threat. Anyway, the monsters would get you first. They're scary. I don't remember them clearly, but I remember enough to give me nightmares for the rest of my life. You're crazy to even think about going in there. You couldn't get me to go back in there for 1,000,000,000,000 gold pieces." You fold your arms and stare at the halfling tapping your fingers against your shoulder. Loris shakes his head and says, "I see nothing I say will persuade you. As the wizard said, those who search for danger will find it. Who can tell? You might even succeed where I failed. I will take you to the rock. At least it will prove I spoke the truth." Gathering your few possessions, you quickly break camp and follow the halfling into the dark woods. The night is dark. Without the halfling's knowledge of the way, you would be hopelessly lost. Trees loom out of the darkness, brambles clutch at your legs, and sharp stones cut into the soles of your boots. At last, the mountain rises before you, silhouetted against the night. The halfling searches for a while, then cries, "Aha! Here it is." A large dark crack looms in the mountain before you. You turn to the halfling, almost expecting him to have disappeared, but he has remained faithfully by your side instead of scurrying off into the night as soon as you found the opening. "Halfling, what will happen to you if you return to your village?" you ask. Loris laughs a bitter laugh. "If I tell the truth, me missus will scold me. She's a hard woman. If I don't tell the truth, she'll still yell at me for disappearing and not talk to me, although that might be a blessing. I will just go back to being little Loris, the baker's helper." "Loris," you say, "it took great heart and courage to try such a dangerous task. Would you consider joining me on a second adventure? Kalman will never expect you to return, and with your assistance we may defeat this evil wizard. If we succeed, you will return home a hero. Thereafter, you would be known as Loris the Brave." The halfling looks down at the ground, his shoulders sagging. "I couldn't do it," he whispers. "I'm not a fighter. Pick somebody who won't let you down. I don't want somebody else. I need you and I want you. You can do it if you believe in yourself." After a long pause, the halfling looks up into your eyes and pulls at his beard. "Do you really need my help? Do you really think I could do it? I'll be honest, I'm scared. Much of what I saw seems like a nightmare to me, all scary and creepy and blurry. But I would like to be Loris the Brave. A real adventure," he muses. "One that might actually succeed. You're strong and handy with your weapons. I bet you're tricky, too. More of a challenge for that wizard than I was. But I've been there. Maybe I could help. Maybe I could do it. What do I have to lose? Me missus scolds me and others laugh at my size. There's not much to lose and lots to gain." His voice fades as he thinks to himself. Finally, he shouts, "Yes, I'll do it. I'm your man if you want me." "Can you handle a weapon?" you ask. "I've had a little call to use one as a baker's helper, but I know the basics every child learns," replies the halfling. "I'm loyal and very strong." "Well spoken, Loris. I have met giants who bore the hearts of mice. People should never judge a man by his size. The things that matter, truth, loyalty, courage, and honor, will never be found on a yardstick." The halfling smiles up at you, his round eyes rimmed with bright tears. Come, no time for tears. Now then, I am called Karg. Clasp my hand and let us swear our loyalty to each other and our mission." The halfling slides his small leathery hand into yours, and you soon swear the oath. "Well," you say, "there's no reason to stay. Let the adventure begin." You look at the stars and breathe deeply of the clean, crisp air. Then, with your hand wrapped firmly around the hilt of your sword, you step into the opening. Inside, all is quiet. It appears a simple cave. Even though the halfling's tale sounded true, you question it just for a moment. As your eyes grow accustomed to the darkness, you see a skeleton leaning against the wall in one corner, staring at the opposite wall. A small shield lies at its side. With a little polishing, it might shine as brightly as your own. You pick the shield up and give it to Loris, also handing him your dagger. The halfling takes the weapon and shield, holding the dagger gingerly with his fingertips. "It's not going to bite you," you say. "Hold it firmly. Be ready. Don't strike until you're certain of your target, and once you begin, do not falter." "I'll try to do my best," Loris says, putting the dagger in his belt. "I'm scared, but I won't let you down." He begins polishing the shield. Your eyes follow the skeleton's gaze and see a message scrawled in red on the wall of the cave. "Watch the water that is not water, and beware the basilisk." The rest of the cave is empty except for a pile of leaves and twigs in the west corner, and a hole in the wall under the message. "Well, Loris, where do we go from here?" you ask. "I do not know," the halfling replies. "I do not remember any trails, just some of the things I saw." We come to our first choice. If you wish to investigate the hole in the wall, turn to page 13. If you wish to check the pile of leaves in the corner, turn to page 15. So I think I will try the hole in the wall, because that's a little strange. You peer through the narrow hole and see that it is a stairway leading down into the mountain. Loris follows you and remains close to your side. The stairway has been carved out of solid rock. Mica flakes reflect a dim, flickering light at the bottom of the stairs. The flakes sparkle and shine as you pick your way down the winding steps. Your soft leather boots make no sound as you move. The light slowly grows brighter as you descend. You see the source of the light. The stairway ends in a smooth rock corridor. Another corridor opens to your left. Two creatures, no more than 3 feet tall, stand 10 paces away. They have no hair but are covered with a scaly black hide. A sharp, bony crest runs up their backs and ends in 2 sharp horns upon their heads. One creature holds a short sword in its hand, and the other holds a torch. You remember seeing creatures like these on one of your adventures in the past. They are kobolds, very evil creatures that would attack you immediately if they discovered you. "Well, Loris, are you ready to attack them?" you whisper. "I don't know," says the trembling halfling. "They're not much bigger than I am, but they sure look mean. Do you really think we can win? They look awful tough." "Loris," you say, "they are mean, evil, and tough, but if we work together, we can take them. What do you say?" If you wish to attack the kobolds, turn to page 17. If you wish to slip unseen into the corridor to your left, turn to page 19. I think because we're doing self-preservation, we will slip unseen into the corridor to the left. The corridor is dark and slick, so you move slowly. As you run your hand along the right side of the corridor, you feel a gap that must be another corridor. Creeping forward again, you see a red glow in the distance and hear a clicking sound. As you walk forward, you can see that the glow is advancing toward you. Finally, you see that the glow comes from a giant beetle. "I don't like bugs," mutters the halfling. "They're all creepy and crawly." "It's not so bad," you say. "That beetle's not much bigger than the ants. Sure, it has nasty pincers, but at least it's a fire beetle, one of the smallest of the giant beetles." "Thank goodness for small favors," the halfling says glumly. "Let's hope we don't meet any of its bigger brothers." The beetle continues to scuttle down the passage toward you. If you choose to fight the beetle, turn to page 44. If you wish to avoid the beetle, we're going to avoid the beetle and take the passage to the right. When bugs are 2 feet long with huge sharp pincers that can easily slice off an arm or a leg, you must be careful around them. You decide not to attack the fire beetle, but to take the corridor to the right. This corridor runs straight and smooth. Soon you see lit torches set in brackets on the walls every 30 feet. You round a corner and see a giant wasp standing over an orc. It is injecting the orc with a paralyzing poison. Once finished, the wasp tugs the orc over to a hole on the left side of the room and stuffs it into its nest. "Oh," moans the halfling softly. He hides behind you. As you watch the wasp move the orc, you notice 2 things of interest. The wasp wears a blue jacket with gold buttons and a red leather vest, and another corridor opens directly across from you. Choice number 1, if you decide your fear of insects includes giant wasps, run like mad into the corridor across the room and turn to page 23. If you decide to enter the room and attack the wasp, turn to page 33. And I kind of feel like we're due for an encounter, so we're gonna, as much as I'm afraid of wasps, we're going to confront the wasp. You decide that since the wasp has just used its poison, not much will be left. You seize one of the torches, enter the room, and fling it at the huge insect. The torch lands on the wasp's jacket. Soon, the entire insect is ablaze. Please, please, let's get out of here, says Loris, tugging your tunic. You watch the wasp slowly collapse. Something terrifying happens. A white cloud rises from the ugly blackened hulk and hides the dead wasp. When the cloud thins, you see that the wasp has disappeared, and a handsome young man lies on the floor in its place. He wears a bright blue cloak and a red leather vest and breeches. The young man stirs briefly, and you rush to his side. He opens his eyes and looks at you. It is obvious he is on the verge of death. He speaks in a gasping whisper. "Thank you, fighter. I am free at last." As you hold him, the cloud arises once more, and he is gone within seconds. You kneel on the ground holding nothing. What did he mean? Loris grabs you tightly and cries, "You must get us out of here. Nothing's what it seems to be. Insects that are men, men that are insects." "Loris, calm down," you say, grabbing him by the shoulders. "Now get a hold of yourself. We must keep our wits about us." Loris calms himself, then straightens up and says, "Sorry, bugs are bad enough, but to be turned into one." He shivers and falls into a brooding silence. You move to investigate the wasp's nest. After you pull the orc's body from the hole in the wall, you see that it hides away to a passage that runs straight ahead as far as you can see. You crawl through the hole and walk down the corridor. As you enter the corridor, you hear the sound of grinding stone and see some dust fall from the ceiling. "Something's wrong," you whisper to the halfling. "Let's get out of here." You turn around and start retracing your footsteps. However, before you have gone 2 paces, a tremendous roar knocks you off your feet, and the passage before you collapses. When the dust settles, you see the corridor is completely blocked with large boulders, heavy timbers, and dirt. "It's impossible," you say. "We'll never dig out without tools. We can only go forward." Reluctantly, the 2 of you stagger to your feet and turn around, and walk down the corridor, alert for danger at every step. The corridor ends in a room. A feeling of menace hangs heavy in the air, but what you see seems harmless enough. The room is approximately 20 feet square and dimly lit. The ceilings and walls are rough, with stalactites hanging from the ceiling. The floor is smooth. A stone well about 3 feet tall stands in the middle of the room. The well is covered with mysterious carvings of ugly faces. Sword in hand, you approach the well carefully. "Don't do that! Get away!" screams the halfling. You stare at the halfling in shock. "There's something horrible in there," Loris says, trembling. "But I can't remember it clearly. Galman picked me up by my feet and dangled me over the pool. He thought it was funny. I didn't think it was so funny." "What kind of monster is it?" you ask. "I don't know," he answers. "I never saw anything like it before." Sneaking carefully up to the well, you glance in quickly and discover it contains only a shallow pool of water. All of your instincts scream, "Danger!" Everything in you says, "Leave now!" But you do not. You can't go back the way you came, and you've come too far to let mysterious carvings around a pool of water frighten you. You look in again and see that the water is crystal clear. You see a bright gold key on the bottom of the pool. The tip of the key is fashioned like a cross with diamonds on each end. Colored gems decorate each corner. The key must be valuable and open the lock to something of great importance. "Look, Loris, look," you call, but the halfling buries his head in his hand and does not respond. If the key is important, why would it be left lying around in a pool of harmless water? Perhaps the water is not harmless. You could reach in and see what happens, but if a monster does lurk in there, as Loris believes, that would not be a good idea. Looking about the room, you see several things that you did not notice at first glance. There are 2 doorways, one to your left and one to your right. Both are dark. You cannot see beyond them. Bones lie scattered on the floor. "Loris, bring me one of those big bones." The halfling slowly drags a 3-foot-long bone to you. Picking the bone up, you probe the bottom of the pool gingerly, trying to snag the key. Suddenly, the bone is wrenched from your hand with great violence. The water erupts from the pool. A watery, cobra-like head rises out of the pool. It surges at you with its mouth open. You jump back quickly. Once you are out of its striking range, the watery creature sinks back into the pool. See, I told you, but no, you wouldn't believe me, cries the halfling. We've got to get out of here before it eats us. Calm down, you say. It can't get us as long as we stay here. It's a water weird, a snake made out of water. It can't leave the pool. I heard them mentioned in old tales, but I thought they were never real. It looks real enough to me, said the halfling, his teeth chattering. You are silent as you try to remember all that you have heard of water weirds. You know they will attack any living thing. It drags down any creature it strikes into the pool to drown it. Weapons rarely hurt the monster. If you decide you do not wish to fight this dreadful monster, you may choose to leave the key, the monster, and the room. Option number 1. If you decide to leave, you may leave by the doorway on your left. You notice a cool breeze blowing from this doorway. If you choose this route, turn to page 86. Number 2. Or you may leave by the doorway on the right. If you choose this way, turn to page 73. If you decide to stay and try to get the mysterious key, turn to page 77. I think I'm going to go with the doorway with the cool breeze. So we'll flip to page 86. As you travel down this corridor, away from the water weird, you see that another passage opens to the left. It is dimly lit, but you see nothing. Let's stay out of that corridor for now, you say. As you continue down the corridor, you see stone faces carved in the side of the corridor. The faces have ugly, snarling features. Gosh, Carrick, Loris says, look at those ugly faces. As you proceed, the carvings become larger. The corridor is now flanked by man-sized stone monsters with such hideous expressions that you are almost too terrified to walk past them. They're only stone, Loris, you say, with more courage than you feel. The two of you creep along under the gaze of the large stone monsters. A torchlit room opens before you. Large wooden beams rise on both sides of the doorway. You notice the corridor continues on the other side of the room. As you examine the room, you feel as though 1,000 eyes are watching you. Before you stands the most horrible collection of statues you have ever seen. Stone monsters only a madman could imagine leer down at you from their pedestals. You stand in the doorway, too frightened to continue. It is well that you do so, for one of the statues moves. It is a living gargoyle. It is the size of a man, but is the color of stone. Bat-like wings rise from its back, and it has knife-sharp hooks on its elbows and knees. A long spiral horn protrudes from its forehead. The gargoyle's hands end in long, sharp claws, and it has a long, whip-like tail. The halfling presses to your side and raises his small shield to hide behind. You know gargoyles are ferocious predators that attack anything and love to torture their prey. You also know that they sometimes serve an evil master. It is possible that the gargoyle is Kalman's servant. Perhaps the wizard is near. Our options are, if you think you must fight the gargoyle even though it is one of the fiercest creatures you expect to meet in this dungeon, enter the room and turn to page 100. If you do not wish to fight the gargoyle, return to the dimly lit corridor you passed earlier and turn to page 81. I know I'm trying to keep us alive, but because of the Kalman's servant, perhaps the wizard is near a line, I think we should go ahead and confront the gargoyle. So I'm going to turn to page 100. You doubt the corridor behind you holds anything less hideous than the gargoyle. Your heart racing wildly, you decide to take your chances with the gargoyle. Slowly, you edge around the corner of the wooden beam on the side of the doorway. Loris, who has remained close by your side, stumbles over a rock and falls full length upon the ground with a large whump. Your courage fails you, and your feet refuse to move. You stand frozen with fear. The gargoyle swivels its ugly head in your direction and gives a terrible shriek. Leaping down from its pedestal, it prances and dances like a demon, flapping its wings and drawing ever closer and closer. "Run, Garrick, run! Don't stop for me," cries the halfling, "but you cannot leave your friend." The gargoyle's eyes fix on you, still standing in front of the wooden beam. The gargoyle is now only 10 feet from you. It continues to prance about, showing exactly what it plans to do to you. At last, bored with taunting, the gargoyle draws back and lowers its head until the spiral horn points at your chest. It runs toward you. Waiting until the last minute, you fall and lay at the base of the wooden beam. The gargoyle charges over you and, unable to stop its rush, slams into the beam so hard it impales its horn deep into wood. Try as it might, it cannot pull its horn out of the beam. Its screams echo through the room and down the corridor. The beast's arms and legs kick and flail, battering you. Quickly scrambling to your feet, you and Loris race off into the corridor on the opposite side of the room. Turn to page 94. This corridor is smooth and well lit. Gripping your sword and your mirror-bright shield firmly as you stride down the passageway, you come to an archway in front of you. The sound of heavy breathing comes from beyond. A cool breeze blows down a tunnel running uphill to your left. Suddenly, mocking laughter rings out from the archway, and a deep voice says, "Well done, fighter." "Hello again, halfling. You surprise me. I had not thought to see you again." There is a long silence. "Maybe we should turn back," says Loris. "That sounded like Kalman." "The treasure is probably very close," you say. "I don't want to give up yet." Our options are, if you choose to seek the treasure and possibly face Kalman, go down the tunnel and turn to page 108. If you decide to avoid the wizard, go back up the corridor on the left and turn to page 81. I definitely think that we should confront the wizard, so 108 it is. "Well," you say, shaking yourself, "I guess this is what we came for. If we've come this far, we might as well see it through." With great caution, the two of you approach a bend in the passage and slowly peek around the corner. A large cavern lies before you. Gold coins lay in heaps on the sandy floor. Gems sparkle every color of the rainbow over the entire floor. Heavy silver bricks are stacked in great mounds near the walls. Your breath is taken away by the vast treasure, far more treasure than any person could ever use in a lifetime. "My apologies, Loris," you say. "I thought you were exaggerating, but you are not. It does seem that all the world's treasure is here." At last, reason returns to both of you. You were so dazzled by the treasure, you failed to notice some other details of the cavern. 2-inch iron bars protect the treasure. They would be impossible to break. The only opening in the barrier is a small iron door with an unusual keyhole shaped like a cross with a diamond on each hand. "Garak, look at all the statues. Don't they look odd?" You notice a number of statues standing around the iron bars. Some of them actually clutch the bars in their hands. The statues are remarkably lifelike. They are humans, halflings, elves, and even a dwarf. Both of you move closer, marveling at the workmanship of the statues. They are very lifelike. "You're right, Loris. Look at their expressions." More than half wear expressions of horror on their faces. Many have raised hands as though protecting themselves from danger. What kind of sculptor could have created such strange figures? Suddenly, a terrible thought enters your mind. "Loris," you ask, "do you think these statues were not sculpted? Maybe they were living beings who were turned to stone. Remember the words written in the entrance. Watch the water that is not water, and beware the basilisk. I think we've stumbled into a basilisk's lair." The fate of the statues who were once living beings is now clear. Anyone unfortunate enough to look into the eyes of a basilisk instantly turns to stone. There is no escape. "What can we do to protect ourselves?" asked the halfling wildly. "I don't want to be a statue." Quickly, you think of all you know about the dreadful creatures. A basilisk is a reptilian monster nearly 10 feet long. The only way to protect yourself from turning to stone is to reflect the basilisk's gaze back into its own eyes, so that it will be turned to stone. Suddenly, the heavy breathing becomes louder. "Oh no, it's the basilisk. You don't dare turn around." "Loris," you whisper, "don't turn around. Whatever you do, do not turn around." You stand in place, eyes tightly closed, trying to think of your next move. Evil laughter bursts forth, and a voice hisses, "Do you know our secret, fighter? Come, turn around and meet my pet. Not many come this far, and none leave, except, of course, your small friend. It seems I made a mistake, but who expects worms to grow backbones? This dungeon is a profitable and pleasant place for me, and I do not intend to let you spoil my fun. Come, turn around. A wild plan forms in your mind. You don't know if it will work, but it's worth a try. Anything is better than becoming the newest statue in the wizard's collection. Quickly, you whisper your plan to Loris. Slowly, the two of you lower your heads and raise your shields at the same time. The highly polished surfaces cover your faces. Perhaps you can reflect the horrible creature's gaze back into its own eyes and turn it to stone. You spin around to face the basilisk. You hear it hiss as it approaches and feel its hot breath on your legs. Abruptly, there is a crunching, crackling, splintering sound, and then there is only silence. "Calman," you call out. "We would go in peace." There is no answer. "Carrick," the halfling says, "the breathing has stopped." You peer out from behind your shield. At first you see only sand, then you see a scaly hide, but the hide is made of stone. The basilisk lies on its side in the sand, frozen forever in stone. "It worked, Loris. Our plan worked." "But where is Calman?" asks Loris. "Maybe he fled," you respond. Our options this time are, if you want to search the room, turn to page 115. Or perhaps Calman fled when you turned his basilisk to stone. You may try to open the lock guarding the treasure. Turn to page 113. Well, we don't have the key, so I guess we'll go to 115. Calman steps into your sight. "Here I am, Worms," he said. "My little joke has gone on too long. What shall I do with you? Maybe I'll turn you into slugs. Then I can step on you whenever I please." "How about a fair fight, Calman?" you ask. "Don't be silly, fighter," he answers. "I didn't study all those years to fight fair. I much prefer fighting like a magic user." He roars with laughter and shoots 4 bursts of silver-white light from his fingers. You and the halfling jump for cover. "Hiding won't save you, my little slugs," he hisses. You hear sizzling noises, then a blinding pain surges through your elbow. You have time to do no more than gasp with pain before 8 more bursts arc toward you. Rolling in terror, you try to dodge, but they follow you and burn into your body. You lay gasping on the ground, dimly aware of Loris whimpering in the background. Calman laughs. "Do you see what I mean? Now stop your silly whining and come here, heroes," he sneers. "I want to change you into worms." Calman beckons you with a skinny finger. You find your body crawling to him, despite your mind's desire to escape his foul lair. At last, you lie stretched out on the sand in front of Calman. Loris moans softly as he crawls to your side. "My sweet pet," Calman croons to his stone basilisk, "I shall avenge you. Shall I turn them into slugs or little black spiders? Both squish nicely when you step on them. Your skin crawls. You do not want to be turned into any kind of bug. If only you could draw your weapon." Suddenly, the halfling's furious voice screams, "No! You aren't going to turn me into a bug. I hate bugs." You lift your head in amazement as Loris flings himself at the wizard. "I don't want to be a bug," screams the halfling, locking his arms around Calman's knees and struggling to topple the evil wizard. Calman's amusement turns to anger. He finds it difficult to pull the halfling away. Calman raises his hands and points his fingertips at the halfling. Loris screams, "No, I don't want to be hurt either." He gives a great jerk that throws Calman off balance. For a moment, the halfling and the wizard sway back and forth. Then the two topple to the ground. Ignoring your pain, you force yourself to your knees and crawl to the struggling wizard and halfling. "Get off me, you miserable halfling. I'll turn you into a centipede," screams the wizard, attempting to free himself. "I hate bugs, I hate bugs," screams the halfling. Finally, Calman wrenches one leg free and kicks at the halfling. You realize this is your only chance. If you are to live, you must do something now. Gathering all your strength, you fling yourself on top of the struggling wizard and grab both his wrists to prevent him from throwing any more spells. Calman roars in fury. His evil face is only inches away from your own. His lips curl in a dog-like snarl. "You cannot win, fighter," he hisses. "Even with this stupid halfling holding my leg, I am more than a match for you. When you creep through black tunnels on your belly, waving your antenna in the air, you will wish you had never touched me." You are about to reply when the wizard shoves you mightily. Both of you tumble, locked in each other's grip. Loris clings as hard as he can to Calman's legs. "Do something, Carrick," he cries. "Do something." "Do what?" you gasp. "I don't want to be turned into a bug any more than you do." Try as you may, you cannot do more than just hold on to Kalman. You are weakening fast. The constant bashing causes your injuries to throb and ache. Risking the chance that Kalman will free himself, you reach down and draw your sword. Kalman dashes you against the cavern wall, and your aching fingers drop the weapon. Kalman yells triumphantly and rolls away. He seizes your sword and flings it across the room. Turn to page 120. Rolling away from Kalman, you strike the treasure room bars. Realizing you are near the end of your strength, Kalman jumps on top of you. "Now," he hisses, pointing a bony finger at your face. Just as you think the end is near, Kalman screeches terribly and falls aside. "You bit me," the wizard screams. "Let go! Let go!" Loris has wrapped himself around Kalman's legs, his teeth clamped on the evil wizard's leg. You scramble for your sword, but it lies across the room. Your hand fumbles about, searching for anything that can serve as a weapon. Your fingers close upon coins, jewels, a chalice. Useless. All useless. Suddenly, your fingers encounter a slender, heavy metal rod. The rod grows warm as soon as you touch it. As you bring it forward, you see that the rod glows pale green. Kalman's eyes open wide, and he grows pale. Horror spreads over his face. He cringes, hands held before him, trying to escape the rod. His mouth moves, but no words come out. You strike Kalman with the rod. Before your disbelieving eyes, the wizard's body grows stiff, then breaks into dozens of splinters. As you stare at the shattered wizard, you hear hissing. A stinking black cloud explodes from the broken body. You and Loris edge as far away from the cloud as possible. What will this cloud reveal? This stinking cloud billows and rolls, hiding all that lies beneath it. Loris shivers and clings to you. His teeth chatter with fear. A horrible, ear-splitting, heart-stopping screech assaults your ears, and an inhuman head pokes out of the cloud. It glares at you. It is the ugliest head that you have ever seen. It looks like a chicken, but it has no feathers. The eyes are large and lidless. A large, curved beak snaps open and shut. The head turns back and forth, the bright red eyes studying the detail of the room. You start to move slowly toward your sword. As soon as you move, the creature squawks loudly and rises above the cloud on two bat-like wings. It hovers in the middle of the room, too frightening to look upon. It appears to be a cross between a bird and a snake. A large bird-like body covered with scales hangs suspended between the two large bat-like wings. Dirty white feathery down covers its shoulders, and there are razor-sharp talons on each of its 4 legs. The creature beats its wings upon the air, uncertainly at first, then stronger at every flap. "Carrick," the halfling squeaks, "we better do something or that chicken thing is going to eat us." You edge toward your sword. Screeching wildly, the creature dives at you. You slash out with the rod, which no longer glows, and strike it on one white wing. As it swoops by, the sharp talons rip at your clothing. The creature swoops and dives in bat-like bursts of speed. You grow dizzy following its flight. Finally, the creature dives straight for you, driving its clawed foot deep into your shoulder. It slashes once, then twice, and circles the room. Then, its great wings beating, it flies down the black corridor. You collapse to the ground, bleeding. Loris rushes to your side and gently cradles your head. Ripping cloth from his shirt, he presses it against your wound. He feels your shoulder gently to see what damage the creature did. "You are lucky, Carrick. It didn't get your face, but you'll have an interesting scar, that's for sure. Do you think you can get up? That screechy chicken might come back, and I don't want to be here." Although your head spins and your body aches, you struggle to your feet. As you rise, the metal rod tumbles to the ground. "Thank heavens for that magical stick," says Loris. "We would be crawling along some corridor right now if not for that wand," you say. "I don't know what it was, but I'm sure glad we found it. I don't think we could have defeated Kalman without it." "Kalman," shouts the halfling. "Where is he? Where's he gone to?" Loris whirls wildly about, searching for the wizard. "He's gone, Loris," you say, holding his shoulders. "You'll find whatever remains of Kalman when you find that creature." "I don't think I want to find either one," says the halfling. "What was that chicken thing anyway?" "I don't know," you answer. "But if we're lucky, it's the only one of its kind. We must hope it finds our world an unfriendly place and dies. I don't want to think of what might happen if it lives. Only Kelman knew for certain. Does that mean we won? Asks Loris. Are we rich now? You turn and face the locked door to the treasure room. Alright, our options are, if you have found the key that will fit the door, turn to page 126. If you do not have the key, turn to page 125. And we do not have the key, so 125 it is. You look sadly at the treasure room door. You could never break that door down, even with your best effort. No, Loris, we're not rich. We might as well have not come at all. What do you mean, Carrick? The halfling asks. There's all the treasure in the world sitting right there. Yes, you answer sadly. That is almost all the treasure in the world. But it won't do us any good. I can't break that door down. Loris looks at you strangely. Then, taking a piece of stiff wire from his pocket, he walks over to the treasure room door. He bends the wire in 2 places, inserts it into the lock, twists, and pop. The door swings open. Loris, you gasp. How did you do that? It was nothing, Loris responds proudly. I've been picking locks since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. Now we've got all the treasure in the world. The end.